and the person paid them to say so or to do so is going to be very satisfied with the results, and that's the reason they pay analysts in the first place. So one explanation I found after the deal was announced, and I wasn't surprised it was announced. We've known about it for like weeks or something. It just wasn't confirmed and, written in stone or carved in stone, whatever. But the matter of fact is that some people have said that Nokia was basically being battered by analysts and people saying, oh, the company's doomed, the company's over, it has nothing, don't sign any deals with it, don't make any phones with them, or don't try to put these things on the shop. And this reminded me, and I haven't actually seen people using these terms, but Microsoft has this thing which it calls the slog, and the slog is a process by which you're supposed to punch your competitor really hard and make it suffer to a degree where you basically change the perception about it in the market until it completely loses a lot of the momentum, or in some cases, and usually it's been invoked when a company has a lot more market share than you do. In the past, it was WordPerfect. It was things like, I suppose back in the old days, it would be mostly things to do with Office or with servers and, Unix and things like that. And in this case, of course, Nokia is still marginally kind of the market leader. I think they have the most in terms of market share, not the new sales, but in terms of the actual, in terms of the actual market that they have acquired, especially outside the United States, where you have all those surveys. They are the market leader, and Microsoft has to punch them really hard and try to put the stock down to take more control of the company and use their influence to Microsoft's advantage. Because historically speaking, if you check why Nokia would never adopt Windows, it was called Windows Mobile at some stage. Of course, that's been thrown away because it's rubbish. The reason they didn't want to adopt this platform is because they knew that licensing a platform for Microsoft would make them very, very sensitive to the margins imposed by the company which sells the software. Companies like HP and Dell, they know that if they don't control the platforms, and if they don't actually make some customized version of Windows or Linux or something like that, Microsoft has the ability to change the pricing of Windows to the point where the companies have to really compete on razor-thin margins, which means that they don't profit much on hardware, and the only company actually making money is the one selling the software. Right? So this is what Nokia was extremely afraid of, and he knew that it had to create its own platform. This is why they wouldn't touch Android, and they're quite right, because they have to compete against all these Chinese companies that make very, very good Android phones. Also Korean companies like LG and Samsung, they make all those very good Android phones, and it would be hard to compete without having your own platform. Now, of course, what Ilop has done, he's taken exactly the type of platform he wasn't supposed to take. He took a platform that belongs to Microsoft and all those other companies are supposed to have too, which makes you wonder, how does LG feel now if Microsoft has a very strategic partnership with Nokia? But
yeah, I mean, for me, there was a couple of questions that I had. I mean, I couldn't see the benefit of this partnership deal, whatever you want to call it, with Microsoft specifically, because whilst you have Nokia with producing Windows 7 phones, not exclusively. I think I read somewhere that it wasn't exclusively. They'll still be releasing their Android range of phones as well. But they're still competing. We haven't changed the dynamics of their competition at all. They're still competing with Chinese, Japanese manufacturers. They're still competing with all the brands that people are currently rushing out and buying, like HTC and the Samsung phones. So I can't really see what is in this for Nokia. Maybe I'm missing the point. Maybe I'm not looking deep enough into it.
You assume that it's supposed to make sense, but it's not supposed to make sense. It's supposed to make Balmer richer.
Because I mean, if you turn around and said, "Oh, well, Nokia's getting an exclusive deal on Windows 7 phones. Nobody else is going to be able to release a Windows phone apart from Nokia," I'd say, "Okay, fair enough. It's a bit of a gamble, but this is the way Nokia is looking to penetrate the market with their products." But like I say, nothing's changed for Nokia, and mobile phone companies, whether it's HTC, whether it's Samsung, still have the option of releasing Android or Windows phones anyway. So the competition's still there. Hence, Nokia's still got the issues that it currently has.
It has lots of patents around hardware and not just software. So what I'm quite worried about, I don't think we've touched this so far, and this is the angle I took when I wrote about it, is what they might do with the patents, not now but later. So one thing they might do, especially under management that came from Microsoft, is use not necessarily use the software patents, which they do have, to attack Android as a platform and all the companies. But what they could do, having already sued Apple before using patents, they could go to companies like LG and Samsung and try to elevate the price of their Android phones using patents. I think they have all kinds of things on like folding keyboards, and over the years they usually were the first in many cases with all kinds of very innovative designs, and they have all these charts and things where they show, we are the first to invent this type of thing or bring to market this really nice form factor, whatever. So they have all these patents. I don't think they'll pass it to Microsoft until they kind of die, like Novell did. In which case they can create a sort of a CPTN type of consortium where they pass the patents to something that's controlled by Microsoft. Who knows? But in the meantime, there could be a great risk to all kinds of companies. They have lots of patents. It's really hard to get them sued without being sued back, unless, of course, you're a patent troll, and of course, patent trolls can sue anyone they want. Don't have any product, so nobody can sue them back. That's one of the loopholes, and that's why patent trolls are extremely successful, especially around taxes and courts, which are extremely favorable and amicable towards patent trolls and towards I wouldn't say software patents, because that's applicable to just about any states in the U.S. now. But there is like software patents that are completely stupid, unbelievably stupid software patents. Things like the one-click shopping, and these things would probably hold water in places like the Eastern District of Texas or something. If you take it to court, and people will just pay for it, unless of course they can sue you back. So this is my concern anyway, and I see lots of people who are trying to push the patent angle against Linux. I don't really want to name them because they quite enjoy being named and causing lots of provocation and things like that. But they seem to suggest that Nokia is going to be a patent issue as well.
Well, staying on the subject of phones, Roy, are we any closer to finding out the more accurate sales figures for the Windows 7 phones now?
It doesn't matter. You don't ask them. They don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
How many were shipped. Yeah.
The reason I ask is because we're in February now, and I remember reading an article on Microsoft Watch a few months back, which claimed that the developers of the apps for Windows 7 software haven't actually managed to haven't received word of how well their applications are doing. I don't know whether that was in respect of the payment for the people purchasing their software.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything about it.
And it's all gone quiet. Now, I read somewhere else. I was desperately trying to find it while you were talking. I read an article recently which made a claim that Windows Phone 7 has yet to even push past the boundaries of its predecessor, WinMob 6.5, I think it was. But that was sort of the only clue that I had as to any of the sales for this Windows Phone 7. There's been a couple of MVP tweets, which I'll come on to in a second, because there's been something quite interesting I've observed from the MVPs that I keep an eye on. But there's been the tweet from an MVP claiming 8,000 applications for the Windows Phone 7 catalogue, so I don't know what sort of apps they are, but it seems to be a claim to fame. And when you look at Android or look at Apple's phone store, there's a lot more than 8,000. But another thing I've noticed recently is I keep an eye on a few of the MVPs. It's very interesting to see the subjects that Microsoft's worried about, because you can usually find one or two of the MVPs tweeting FUD in respect of the counter arguments. And it's all gone very quiet in respect of the Windows Phone 7. I haven't seen a lot. In fact, one thing that strikes me as very strange or very unusual is one of my favourite MVPs, who I won't name now, has now started mentioning about Android and isn't mentioning Windows Phone 7 at all. Now, this is a Microsoft MVP who's now talking about Android.
There is this, with a guy called Microsoft Nick. He's a journalist that used to specialize and actually run the... Hold on, he was the one running